Chapter 1. Picou. I regret to inform you that William has taken ill. If you are able, hasten to us. Peace. Cyrillus. Ada Picou rode hard until she was all the way out of the Nebraska Territory, leaving the snow and blood behind her. Her mind worried about William and his health more than her own welfare. The roan had his head and tore Ada away from a winter full of death. Together they cut through the snow, going faster as it became shallower on their route south. A murderer was ahead of her, leading her back to her ranch. She had hunted the preacher into the hellish and snow-laden landscape of the Dakota Territory, and now she carried the bounty set by the top general at Fort Abercrombie. Despite the change in circumstance, her goal remained the same: to hunt and kill the man she knew as the preacher. Ada shook the last of the snow off her shoulders and cursed the cold. "I'ma ride that jackal down." The roan chuffed as he broke through the snowbanks and into open earth. A warm thread in the wind found its way to Ada and her horse. Revitalized, they increased their pace. Ada did not push the roan, but she did not hold him back as he loped across the countryside. The man that killed her family and that she had been chasing for most of her life was just before her. As Ada rode onward, a farm appeared on the horizon. She pulled the roan up as fatigue worked over them both. "I guess we gotta head over that way." Ada's face tightened as she considered whether the preacher was lying in wait. "Hell with it," she grumbled, as she tapped her heels and gave the reins a flick. Weary in the saddle and with lips dry and cracked, Ada narrowed her eyes to slits as she rode toward the farm that stretched far ahead of her, surrounded by miles of rolling land full of budding grass. A stiff wind from the north bit at Ada's neck, and she hunched low and tucked her chin into her worn layers. Casting her eyes across the range, she noted the newness of the farm. Wooden buildings were yet to be bleached by the sun, and Ada could smell the freshly cut lumber. Stumps not yet burned from the landscape littered the barnyard. Large stones jutted out in various places, and the people living there had started piling them near the barn, likely to use as building materials. It was the first time she had crossed people since leaving Fort Abercrombie in the Dakota Territory. Ada leaned back and considered her position. Bags running light. She ran a hand over the roan's croup and tapped her nearly empty saddlebag. The horse stamped its foot. "Ah, now, you're ready," Ada said. "Just don't want to catch no bullet again." Her hand absently went to her thigh and the spot where she could still feel the puckered flesh through her denim. "All right." Ada tapped her unspurred heels to the roan as they closed the final distance. The horse rode slowly over to the dark, freshly tilled soil and chuffed. Ada imagined the dirt held the charred remains of wood scraps and not soil. A farmhouse and a barn loomed on the opposite side of the barnyard. There was a man and a woman in the field, and the farmer stiffened as Ada approached. The farmer stopped the plow he had been working the land with and bellowed, "Hold, girl," to his mule. He released the worn and smooth handles of his plow and called to Ada. "Don't get much folk round here." He spoke curtly, with a suspicious eye and a beetled brow. He lifted his chin to Ada and shifted his body to square off with her. "You lost?" Ada took in the farmer's sour look and rigid frame. She shook her head but declined to speak. "We don't want no trouble." The farmer gestured with his head for her to move along, and made a point of picking up a nearby axe. He was broad and muscular, and had a red, wiry, wild beard wrapped around his face. "Just passing through," Ada said, as she stopped the roan at the edge of the field. "I ain't here to be no trouble. Just want to see if y'all would trade some foodstuffs for these here hides.